everyone. Here's Hussam with you. I'm a digital designer in Giuliani Architecture, and today I would like to talk about using technology in architecture field. It's really very interesting when you're using all of these digital tools to create something. It looks like you're creating a model, and then you want to touch the material, you want to feel the light, you want to feel the space. It's really very important to know more about this subject. So what I'm going to talk to you about it today is the advantages of 3D visualization technologies for the architectures. One of the things that if the people or the student want to study history, for example, so if they want to study like in Rome and they want to study like the Colosseum or whatever building is, so it's really, really important to build it and to see this model from different angle, get sense of the scale and the material, and even more sense of the place itself. This, when you are in the middle of the space, it's very important. That will give you another dimension to feel the space itself. So this is one of the advantages using 3D technology in architecture field. And the other one, it's a visual communication. Not all the client get sense of what we're doing. Like they couldn't understand really the drawing, and if you just give them sketches or whatever. So it's really difficult for them to understand what is this drawing about. So what we try to do is make a visual communication with them, build the model, show it to them, give them a sense of the space, sense of the material, even the mood of the light at the night or in the daylight. So they actually like to be there. So this is one of the things. And the other thing, the cost of the construction itself. The most famous software, it's Revit actually, which is BIM software, which is mean Building Information Model. This model has all information about doors, windows, material, and so on. So the engineering, they could get sense of the cost of the construction even before they build it, and they can propose it to the client, and then from there the client can decide if they gonna change the material, change the kind of structure they need. So this is another advantage of it. And the other thing, like I said, the material decision. For example, if you want a carpet or wood or concrete, all of these decisions, it's very easy to make when you have a model and you can see it in reality and you can just change those stuff on and on. So there's some of the very famous softwares in the market. For example, SketchUp, Revit, Rhino, 3D Max, Maya, and so on. So let's start with 3D Studio Max. And the reason that I selected 3D Studio Max because it's very popular in the market, and usually this is the most one we use it in the 3D visualization architecture. So I'm trying to make you very familiar with what we're going to talk about it today. So let me jump in the interface of this software, which is 3D Studio Max. So now what you're going to see is the interface of the software. And as you can see, so the first thing here is the menu, which has the edit tool, group, all of this kind of command over here. And then underneath it, something called toolbars, which has the move, scale, rotate, and other stuff. We will go through them eventually. And then you have on the right side the command panel, where you create stuff, you modify them, you make the you move the center of the object or whatever you want to do, like display, utility, all of these under command panel. And then in the middle you have viewports, which is right now is 4 viewports, but there is an ability to change them, you know, to whatever you want, like front, up, bottom, side, left, right, perspective, whatever you want. And then on the left side here, if you have a V-Ray render engine installed in your machine, you're gonna see this toolbar over here. If you don't have it, actually you're gonna use the default render engine, which is the Mentor Ray or the scan line, which is came built in within 3D Studio Max. And down here you will see the time slider, which is we using this one for the animation and know how many frames we want to put on the project. And then underneath it there is the keyframe toolbar over here, and then on the lower right corner you will see the navigator toolbar as well. So let's start talking about how to create an object in 3D space in 3D Studio Max. But before that, I would like to talk about something very important, because people, they just jump in the software itself and start modeling and start doing stuff, which is really not a good idea, because I believe the good start will lead you to happy ending as well. So for example, if you want to start anything in 3D Studio Max, my advice to you guys first, you have to organize the data that you get from the client or from the office that you work on. So the thing is, the better information you got, the better start you will, you know, do, and you will end up with something really you need. You don't have to go back and change the stuff and waste your time changing the stuff. So the first thing, as I said, organizing the data. The data, which is mean, it may be a CAD file, it may be sketches and materials, and the materials actually, it could be JPEG files or something you download from the internet, like the brick, the concrete, whatever the client choose at the beginning of the project. Then the second thing, the client communication, because during and while you're working on the project, you need to communicate very quick with your client as well, and sending back and forth the information very quickly. So it's better if you come up with storyboarding, even if you have just a model, static model, not animation, not anything, but it's better if you have a storyboarding of how you're gonna start building your model, because each design, it had its own way to start modeling that. So let's say that you want to start, you know, with an organic form. So you have to sketch how you're gonna start this. Okay, so let's see. The other thing is gonna be the 3D modeling itself. You know, you have to find the most efficient way to do it. You don't have to start doing the model itself and then I have to go back, because that way it's gonna be easier to create the model and going back and forth and change the stuff. And that's why I said you have to make a sketch of how you're gonna start modeling this stuff, which is very, very important in our work. So before you start, you have to make sure that you work in the right dimension and unit the project gonna be. Like, for example, if you work in, you know, in Europe, you have to select like centimeter or meter or so on. But here in US, you work with inch, so you have to go back to the software, and you're going to, you know, the customize, and you're going to unit setup. This is the first thing you have to do, and make sure that you select inches. So by then, you will be ready to start modeling your stuff. Okay, so for example, if you have a CAD file, you can trace over it using the shapes, which is lines and rectangular, circular. So you trace all of this drawing first and you extrude it, so you have the form. Okay, so let's start see what we can do with the create command panel. So you go to create, and then underneath it there's a geometry, and then shapes, and then light, cameras. So under create, you will start building your scene using all the tools that available for you in there. So the first thing, if you want to right away click on geometry and create just 3D masses, you click on geometry and go to standard primitive. And for example, if you want to create a box, you just hit the box. Okay. I'm sorry. You hit the box here, and then you drag and drop in the viewport. And as you can see, you create the box right away, and you can see the top view, the front, and the left one. So another thing you can get benefit of, the way how you show your object in 3D Studio Max. For example, here you can see it's realistic, which is give you a sense of the material and the light as well. If you have lighting and you have the ground for the building, for example, like if we create a plane, you can see the shadow over the plane or the ground that we just created. And then you can select shaded, and that will make it even, easy to move. Then you have edge faces, which is very important things to do, because you want to know how many polygons or how many vertices your scene has, so you can adjust those based on whatever you want. So as you can see, when you create any object in a 3D Studio Max, there is a sign or two arrows shows up, which is the move. So that allows you to move the object. So if you hover over the y-axis, you can move only in y-axis. If you hover over the x-axis, again you can move it over x-axis as well. If you select in between, you can move it in both directions as well. So, and some of you maybe said, okay, how I'm gonna work with this small windows here? So you go all the way right corner, lower right corner, and press on toggle viewport, which is maximize and minimize the viewport itself, and that will give you more space. And then if the grid itself bother you here, you can hide it by pressing G buttons on the keyboard. And that will, as you can see, hide and unhide the grid as well. So this is just the first start right now, and I hope that you can go over those geometry and start creating those geometry in the viewport, and try to play around with the navigation tools, and make sure that like for example, this is maximize and minimize viewport, this is orbit the viewport itself, so you can play around with the view, and this is the pan, so you can pan the object and see what's going on around it. And this one, it's actually the zoom extends in for a viewport. So for example, if I minimize this viewport, you can see 4 of them. So if one of them is so far like this, and I press zoom extension for a viewport, that will zoom extends in that object in 4 of them. This one is related to one that activated. For example, if I'm working on this one, as you can see, there is a yellow frame around it that tells us this is where we work. So if I press on zoom extends, this is the only window gonna zoom in. Okay, and then you have zoom all as well, which is working for viewport, and you have zoom in and out in just one viewport that you've been working on. If you work on the perspective, those navigation tools will change. So you have a field of view, and you have pan and orbit. But if you jump to elevation, you will see they change to windows, zoom window, and again you have the pan and you have the orbit as well. So this is just very quick, looking for the interface and some of the navigation command right now. So hopefully that next time we're gonna meet again and we will go through create panel, how to create lines, how to extrude them, how to start building the project. So thank you so much for watching us, and please keep touch with us. Bye bye.